All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And we are joined by the man who takes over these airwaves here on Newsmax TV in just about 26 minutes or so from now. So we appreciate his time. Joe Pagliarulo, syndicated talk show host and host of The Joe Pag Show. As I said, weeknight, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Newsmax TV. Hello, sir.
Hey, Steve, listen, it's such an important day that I even suited up, my man. Can you believe that?
I see that. Look at that. The tie, the red, white, blue look. I like it. I like it. All right. So I'll ask you the same first question that I've asked just about everybody else that's been here so far during the course of the program and the earlier show. What are you looking for tonight? What do you think is going to happen?
I got to tell you, what's surprising to me is how much I've heard out of Michigan. I've got 11 stations in Michigan, and for about a week or so now, I'm hearing from people in the Wolverine state that Donald Trump really has a chance. I've got UAW workers calling in saying we're voting for Donald Trump. I find that to be really surprising because, as you know, Trump or a Republican hasn't won Michigan since 1988. Should he get Michigan, I think you're going to start to see some dominoes fall, and although it's precarious and nothing's in the bag yet, I feel really good about a large voter turnout, Steve. I got to be honest with you, man. Normally, we see more liberals and more Democrats show up when you've got a large turnout. I think this time you've got a lot of people who might have voted Democrat, might have voted independent, or maybe were confused, who are showing up for the sole purpose of punching Trump. It's very interesting so far.
I agree. I mean, you can't imagine that people would be motivated and say, wow, I got to go vote for Hillary. I mean, there are some, but not en masse the way they would for Donald Trump. And here's what, you've talked to Donald. You had him on fairly recently. I've had him on. Here's what I mean, this is amazing. Think about it. I mean, I have 3 friends who drove from the Catskills to Pennsylvania yesterday to see his rally. People line up for 10, 12 hours, and here's a guy who's been in 17 debates against Republicans. He's been in 3 debates with Hillary. He's been interviewed all over the place for a year and 8 months. And you think people, all right, I've seen him, I know about. It's like he's a rock star.
No, it's amazing. Minnesota is allegedly not in play, although, again, my listeners in Minnesota think it is. And he shows up in the tarmac the other day, and there are a couple of thousand people there in the tarmac. Then in the other hangar, just beyond a fence, you've got 5,000 or 10,000 more people just dying to get in. And he even landed, he said, who set this up? Who was the idiot that set this up? These people should come in here. I mean, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and he's still flying around at his age and nonstop for 18, 19 hours a day. And every stop he goes to, people are thrilled. And you're right. The excitement isn't there for Hillary Clinton unless Jay-Z and Beyonce are there, or John Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen are there. They're showing up for these artists, and many actually left the other night in Philadelphia before Hillary Clinton even spoke because the concert was over. This guy's drawing crowds, and he's drawing an excitement, a nationalism that we haven't seen, I believe. Now, I'm not saying he's Reagan, but I don't think we've seen it since Reagan. And by the way, for Minnesota to be this exciting, Minnesota didn't even go to Reagan. I mean, Mondale won Minnesota.
Right.
So people in the upper Midwest, surprisingly, are really rallying for Donald Trump. It's really cool to see.
But does it, in the end, and of course this is a question neither of us can answer at this point, do those crowds, do the Bernie-like crowds, although I think Trump is Trump-like, I think Bernie was Trump-like, putting it all in perspective, but do those crowds translate to the votes?
Well, I think that it does because crowds like this we haven't seen for a very long time. Many people compare to 2012 and say, well, Romney had really big crowds at the end. But at the same time, there are a couple of factors to take into account here. Number one, the African-American vote is not going to turn out for Hillary Clinton anywhere near what it did for Barack Obama for obvious ethnic and similarity reasons. I mean, people say, I can identify with this guy because I feel like he's more like me. They're not saying that with Hillary Clinton. I'll bet Donald Trump gets a really good push from the African-American vote. He's not going to get 50% or anything like that, but he's going to do better than Romney did. The Latino vote is probably one we should take a good close look at. It depends on what they believe from what he said in the initial speech. The Latino, I live in San Antonio area of Texas, as you know. It's a majority minority state.
Right.
We've got more Hispanics and Latin folks here than you have just about anywhere. And the people who whisper to me at the gym or at the grocery store going, "Psst, Pags, I'm going for Trump. He's right about illegal immigration." So that's, I think, the most telling thing tonight, Steve, will be what are Hispanic voters in this nation doing, and what did they understand or what did they believe from either the media or from what Trump actually said?
And the media would have us believe that the Hispanic turnout in key swing states
hates everybody.
It hates Trump, but also is out in force. So we shall see. Joe Pags, we look forward to your show top of the hour. Thank you very much for spending time with us.
You bet.
All right, Joe Pags, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you tune in 6 p.m. Eastern tonight and every night here on Newsmax Television. Joining me now is Stephen Moore, Newsmax Finance Insider, Donald Trump Economic Advisor, co-founder of the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, and senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Steve, it's great to see you, sir.
Hi, Steve. Great to be with you.
All right. Wow. Here we are. And, you know, the last time I heard the economic plan come under attack, I was listening to CBS Radio. They had on one of their network people, and they said that when it came to the economy, which is always on the top of people's list, you know, Hillary has talked so much more about her plan. If you go to their respective websites, Hillary has so much on it, and Donald Trump has much less. And I thought to myself, you know, I haven't done that, but I know the guys who put together, led by Stephen Moore and Larry Kudlow, who put together the economic plan. So there's no way Hillary's economic plan is spelled out in any more detail than Donald Trump. So talk about why voters who are still sitting at home watching and haven't gotten out and voted yet, when it comes to the economy, why should they go out there and cast that vote for Donald Trump?
So, Steve, I mean, if you look at Hillary's website, there are a lot of ideas, but I can boil her economic plan down in 4 words: more of the same. You know, basically more debt, more government spending, more taxes, more regulations, more restrictions on American energy. And if you look at our website on the Trump campaign, you know, we have very detailed tax plan about how we're going to bring down those business taxes, how we're going to promote American energy. That's not just our oil and gas, but we're going to put our coal producers and coal miners back into jobs. Obamacare is, I think, the one issue that has really galvanized this trend towards Trump at the end here, don't you think, Steve? I mean, people are feeling, I was talking to my wife about this just the other day. I mean, our premiums are going way up in Virginia, and she's like, we can't afford this. You know, our incomes are flat, and our premiums are going up.
Yeah, I mean, that is, when you talk about $5,000-$6,000 premiums and then $5,000-$6,000 deductibles, who the heck could afford that?
Right.
It's insane. All right, so, you know, you travel around, you're here in New York now, you're in Washington often, you got the feel. What do you think, based on your vast experience with these elections and the polls? You've seen them all. What do you think is going to happen tonight?
Look, I don't know. I think it's going to be a razor tight. I think we're going to be up really late tonight, Steve, potentially, you know, based on what happens in Florida and Ohio and Michigan and North Carolina. Those are the 4 states I think you want to focus on. But I want to say something else. You know, you're right. I have been on this campaign now for 6 months working with Donald Trump, and I've done the most fun for me was just going out in the country and, you know, meeting people, the Trump supporters and a lot of Hillary, you know, supporters as well, and just, you know, this is a great country, and the people who care so much about our country, and, you know, the truth is half of the country is going to be miserable tomorrow morning, whoever wins. I hope it's not my side, Steve, but this is a great country, and, you know, the Americans care so much, and we'll see whether Americans want change. I really think it's going to be determined by, do Americans want change, or do they want more of the same?
No, and you're absolutely right. Leadership change and draining the swamp, as Donald Trump started to say. So let me ask you this: no matter if Donald Trump wins, does he have? I mean, does he have Paul Ryan? Does he have Mitch McConnell? You know, it would help if they have a Republican Senate, but they certainly won't have 60 votes. But are things going to get done with Trump as president? Do you believe?
I mean, I think this could be one of the most frenzied first 100-day agendas, you know, because look, Donald Trump has been very clear about what he wants to do, right? There's no ambiguity. He wants to build a wall. He wants to get that tax cut passed. He wants to start promoting American oil and gas and put coal miners back to business. One of the first things I told him when I started working for him, I said, Donald, when you're president, the first day you're in the White House, you know, you're going to put 50 executive orders on your desk in the Oval Office, and you're going to sign them, and they're going to repeal all of Obama's illegal executive orders. And at the top of that list, Steve, is going to be the executive order that is going to repeal what's called the Clean Power Plant rule that has put so many tens of thousands of our coal miners out of jobs. We're going to put them right back into the jobs where they belong.
And if Hillary should become the president, I mean, total gridlock. Do you have confidence in the Republicans to thwart her, unless she changes, thwart her radical, agenda?
We'll see about that. I mean, you know, there's some question about whether my friend Paul Ryan will continue to be the Speaker. I mean, Republicans will continue to hold the House, but, you know, there will be a lot of turmoil within the Republican Party. I do think, you know, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing. I think, frankly, I actually think the Republican Party could potentially split into 2 separate parties if Trump loses this race, because the Trump voters are going to feel like the kind of Romney-Bush wing of the party never did anything to help. But, look, Hillary, the one thing I can guarantee you Hillary's going to go after is a single-payer healthcare system for America.
Right.
That's what she's always wanted, Steve. I mean,
that was Hillary care.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so she's going to say, look, you're right, Obamacare is broken. Instead of having more competition, we're going to have less by having the government do it.
That's going to be wonderful, just like Canada and Great Britain,
Exactly.
where people die in the emergency room waiting for a room.
By the way, if that happens, Steve, where are people going to go to get good health care, right? I mean, all the socialized countries come
they
here.
all come here, yeah. Stephen Moore, great to see you, sir. Thank you very much. Folks, we want to know who you voted for. Make sure you log on to newsmaxpolls.com and let your voice be heard. Newsmaxpolls.com. Up next, we'll dissect the latest polls and get the swing state update with my Newsmax TV colleagues Miranda Kahn and Ed Berliner. Don't go away.